guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be reviewing little bits and pieces of a few episodes from the show called The Resident. It's a Netflix show and it follows the lives of medical professionals at different stages of their career, more especially the residents. So Devin is a new graduate physician who is now beginning his residency. So he's the intern and he's paired with the senior resident, Conrad, who is a guy that knows the ropes very well, but he is abrasive and a straight shooter. He can be kind of rude sometimes. So upon interacting with Conrad, who's the senior, Devin, who's the intern, is kind of taken aback by his jarring personality, and he asks to be paired with someone else. But he's told in more words that while Conrad may be arrogant and dismissive at times, he's still the best, and he'll stretch Devin to excellence. And so the journey begins, okay? Now, like most other medical dramas, this one leaves me questioning certain aspects of the show. But of course, my focus is on the nursing portrayal, so that's what I want us to get into today, all right? Now, the main nurse character on the show is Nicolette Nevin, or Nick for short. That's what they call her, Nick. And she's a nurse practitioner who is brilliant, she's articulate, and overall, she's a great image for nurses on the show. She's bold, she's a sensible woman, and she can hold her own. Okay, so here's the first scene that I want to play for you guys. Take a look.
Excuse me, nurse. Devin.
Nick.
I need a new resident. Mine's impossible.
You got Conrad.
Yes, I did. And I need someone else. Now.
All right, guys. So for starters, what does Nick have to do with this? Like, why is Devin asking the nurse practitioner to manage his residency assignment? I don't understand. Is this normal? I mean, she's not the program director, and I just personally have never heard of a scenario before when, when a nurse practitioner is in charge of managing residents' schedules or anything else, okay? So someone correct me again if I'm wrong. All right, so let's keep on watching.
Let's say your car has a rattle, so you take it to a mechanic, and this guy's kind, polite, eager to help. For 2 days, he runs every test in the book. And he calls you and says it's going to set you back $1,000, so you max out your credit card. And on your drive home, guess what?
What?
You hear the same rattle. Or you could take the same car with the same rattle to another mechanic, and this guy is rude, dismissive, arrogant, but he tightens a bolt, fixes the rattle, charges you $5. Problem solved.
This is nothing like that.
No, because your car can't end up dead. Watch and learn. Conrad's the guy who tightens the bolt.
So this is when she's introduced on the show and goes ahead to convince Devin that Conrad is indeed the best man for the job, okay? And that's pretty much what that scene is. All right, in another scene, she's offering some advice to Devin, who is facing challenges as a new resident, and she speaks candidly about why she's so passionate about what she does. And I really enjoyed watching that interaction because it was a great representation for nurses who give so much of themselves for their patients. And I think ultimately it's just gratifying to see an acknowledgement of that through her message in this scene. So let's take a quick look at that.
This happens all the time, Devin. Medical error is the third leading cause of death in the United States after cancer and heart disease. They don't want us talking about that.
But you still show up here. Every day.
Because it's personal to me. And there's still plenty of good doctors and nurses trying to do the right thing. I'm just trying to be one of them.
All right, so that scene, I say hats off to the show for really portraying a strong, intelligent nurse character. Besides offering advice and really being intelligent, she's also seen providing advanced care, giving patient education, providing patient advocacy on the show, and all the things that we really do in the healthcare setting, which makes me proud. Okay, so there's this particular scene that I want to highlight. And I think it's after Devin has had a crazy shift and Nick has been there to sort of support him through that. He has this interaction with his fellow resident. So guys, take a look at this.
Nick is really good. You just noticed?
Why didn't you want to be a doctor?
Because she's smart. Nurses get to spend time with patients. We don't. They have a strong union, earn overtime, make good money. For all of residency, if you figure the hours we're working, interns and residents make minimum wage.
Well, I still think she'd make a good doctor.
She's working on her doctorate of nursing.
Guys, okay, so this is the same stereotype that folks always perpetuate about nursing. So if a nurse is brilliant and she's capable, then she or he ought to have become a physician. I don't know why. I mean, this is frustrating because what it does is it presupposes that nursing does not require smarts and her intelligence could be put to better use as a medical doctor, right? It also sort of dismisses her own chosen profession and the value and expertise that she brings to it without needing to have attended medical school to do so. That's what I got from that message. However, though, I thought that the response from his colleague was quite superior. He's essentially schooling Devin on why she would have picked nursing over medicine. And so I think the idea behind that scene was for the writers to spotlight a prevalent sort of harmful stereotype associated with nursing, and then all in the same breath deconstruct it. And I think that they did a wonderful job of that. And I think, it was just very well executed. Okay. All right. So there are other very short, sort of sublime clips as well. Like, the age-old irritation of a female doctor being called a nurse, which I think at this point we're kind of used to that. Or the adoration for a far less attractive character because he's a doctor. Do you see that? So a doctor is adored for being a doctor, even when he's not maybe super attractive, but a female doctor is irritated by being called a nurse. So there's all kinds of things like the bubblehead nurse, subtle comments of the nurses that work with, there's another doctor called Dr. Hunter, who is possibly like a money-hungry villain, and when Nick expresses concern about the unusually high doses of chemo that Dr. Hunter was administering to her patients, she voices this concern to one of the nurses that work with Dr. Hunter. The nurse makes this remark.
Cancer's brutal. I noticed working with her patients at Chastain, the chemo dosages she uses are really high.
I'm not a doctor, but I know she puts a lot of thought into coming up with a protocol for each patient. Everyone is unique.
That's terrific.
Okay, so she said, I'm not a doctor, but. And see, my only issue when nurses preface their statements with, I'm not a doctor, but, what it does is that it can inadvertently give the impression that their profession is less significant or less important. Even though Nick, a nurse, was pointing out something that her as a nurse caught, the high doses of the chemo. And so that was actually a nurse character who caught that. But the other nurse was like, well, I'm not a doctor, so, I don't know. That was just my only issue with that scene. So I would highly, really advise against using such phrases in shows and in real life, okay? You guys are significant, you're smart, and you're capable. All right, that's it from me. I have just been through the first few episodes so far, and so that's my take on what I have seen of it so far. I haven't watched the whole show, but I do think that the show does a good job with Nick, the NP character, but ultimately they trade one thing for another. On one hand, they have this strong nurse character, and then they also have Nurse Hundley, which she's another character on the show so far, but they only showed her briefly and mentioned how good she was. And they also have nurses in the frames performing certain tasks, which, I think is also different and really reassuring that the nurses are doing nursing skill. But on the other hand, they do include other sublime scenes that continue to paint nursing in a poor light. So it feels like a robbing Peter to pay Paul sort of thing. Anyways, I'm still early into the show. I don't have all the details, but for now, I would say because of Nick's character, I would give it an 8 out of 10 for her strong presence, but I would give it a 5 out of 10 for those other sneakily hidden messages that I caught. So an average score, I would say, is like 6.5 for this show, okay? All right, guys, thank you again for watching. Do not forget to do all the fun things that promote this video. Please like, share, subscribe, so that this video gets the visibility and spread for making sure that nurses are seen, we're heard, and we are acknowledged. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. Nurses, thank you again for all the hard work that you do. Nurse on Purpose sees you and celebrates you, and I appreciate you. Until next time, bye-bye.